What's up, everyone? It's Doug the Dog Guy, owner and founder of Bad to the Bone Pet Care, and we are here with Janie Budnick. Janie is the owner of Four Legged Kids in St. Louis, Missouri, and she also runs PetBizHIVE and PetBizMBA. Good morning, Janie.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on, Doug. This is exciting. I've wanted to have a good conversation with you, and great. Our first big conversation is on camera.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I followed you online for years, and we met at the PSI conference in Cleveland a few months ago, and I'm really excited just to hear more about your story and everything that you're doing.
I know I felt kind of starstruck when I saw you. I'm like, oh my God, it's Doug. I
Oh my
came
God.
over and, I don't know if, and that's one of the things that I've kind of realized is when you're in this space and people hear your voice and they see your face, they're not strangers anymore. So I hope you didn't mind that I weirdly came up and just hugged you.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. I was starstruck. As I listened to your podcast every week, and I was like, oh my God, she knows who I am.
Mutual admiration.
You were just doing some really cool things with your business, and you've been in business for what, 25 years?
Oh yeah. I started when I was
Wow.
2, right? I'm not that old, right?
Oh man. Well, how did you get started?
Oh, geez. So a long time ago, back in the dark ages, I was planning on being a veterinarian, and I did my pre-vet animal science education at Mizzou, which is a notorious party school for a reason. And so it was a party school for a reason. And I got all of my requirements in 2 years, and then I applied thinking, I should be all good. And they said you need to go back and revisit some of that physical and biological science stuff and come back to us in a year. So at that point, moved to St. Louis, started working for some different vet clinics as a vet tech, emergency clinics, all sorts of things like that. And then one day I found myself without a job. And I had been pet sitting for a lot of clinic clients. I think a lot of pet sitting business owners get started that way because they make those connections in clinics or in grooming facilities or boarding facilities. And it was strange, but I had a California client who said, you should start your own business. And I'm like, ew, business is so dry and crunchy. I don't want to be a business owner. I want to work with pets. She's like, no, really, we had a professional pet sitter in California, and you should really take a look into this. Now this was back in '96. And
Wow.
I had an old HP computer of my dad's, it was the big monster, and dial-up internet. And so I kind of just started a search to see if there was any information out there. And that's kind of how I got started. I really printed some brochures and talked to the nice friendly man at the local rabies control and got, rabies control file list of vaccination records, and phone calling and mailing, man. That's how I got started.
Wow. So you actually got the list from rabies control.
Yes. Yeah. Typically, I think in most county states, those the rabies control vaccination list should be public record, so you can do a sunshine request for those. It's actually in my 100 ideas to market your pet business is checking on that. Now, of course, the man was so kind. He actually lived close to me, and we're talking St. Louis County here. He lived close to me, and they didn't have an ability that long ago to be able to give you a digital copy. So he literally printed out, it was like reams of paper. It was I remember he handed me a stack 4 inches thick. He drove to my house and gave them to me. He was so nice. He
No
still
way.
works there. Yeah, I've
No
talked to him
way.
since then because I'm like, dude, you really helped me start my business 25 years ago.
That's
But
amazing.
that was, cold calling. That is tough. That is really tough. But then I had to all of a sudden start getting education in business because, I thought it was dry and crusty, and now all of a sudden that's what I'm doing, right? It's been a learning curve.
Was it instant love, or did it take you some time to kind of get into the groove of it?
I was, for anybody that has read E-Myth by Michael Gerber, I was the complete technician. I was excellent at what I did, taking care of pets. I knew nothing beyond that. So I have learned, well, probably the first 20 or probably the first 15 years of my business was learning by mistakes. And then, at a certain point, about 10 years ago, I just had a definite mindset switch, and I really started seeking out how I could transform what I was doing into something that was just more about just me and, filling in cogs in the wheel to make sure that everybody was taken care of. So, it was really an education in leadership and how to structure a business correctly. So I have a little bit of both of it. I have the huge list of mistakes that I made, including getting audited by my state Department of Labor. And then I have the 10 years of actually educating myself how to do it right. So, well, I guess there's no right and wrong really in our industry, but what worked for my own business. So,
Man,
transition.
I can relate to so much of what you just said. My first few years in business, I tell everyone that I've learned everything I know the hard way. And I've made every mistake in the book probably 10 times over, still making mistakes today and learning as I go, and I was also audited by my state's Department of Labor. So I can
All right,
relate.
twinning.
Oh man, you gotta love it. You live and you learn, and we're all better for it at the end of the day. It was not a fun experience, but I'm almost glad that I went through it, because I would not have the business that I have today if I hadn't learned some of those hard lessons.
What were you audited for?
Misusing independent contractors.
Oh, there you go.
Passed. Yeah, I passed the audit, but they straight up told me that I was in gray area, and that if I got audited again, that I probably would not pass. So I made the transition immediately, and then it was kind of like you said, it was a mindset shift, because I went from this one mindset of just kind of like hopping from one thing to the next, and using the independent contractors, and I just didn't really know what I was doing. And then going through that audit process really made me take a step back and say, wow, what else am I doing wrong? Where do I need to educate myself? Because not only I'm not doing myself any favors, but I'm not doing my team any favors. I'm not doing our clients any favors. I'm not doing the industry any favors. So we've got to fix this.
Yeah, I mean, that is absolutely perfect. It is a hard lesson to learn, but you were able to see that and make that transformation. I know that's a challenge in the industry, because ICs were the way to go for so long. I don't remember why I got set up as ICs. I don't remember one of the first things I did was read Pet Sitting for Profit a long time ago. One of the
I got
first
that right
editions.
there.
I know, mine's on the shelf right there. I'm looking up at that green book right now. I, had since misplaced my original version that I had gotten one of those first editions, but I've gotten another one since then, just so I can have it up there. But I guess it was really the standard in the industry. It was like, okay, you use ICs because they're easier, they're less expensive. Just, here's the 21-point IRS checklist. Just stay on the right side of it, right? Well, in my case, my audit was I transferred over from ICs to employees, but I should have gotten a little bit more input, maybe from a labor attorney or somebody. I did it in the middle of the year. I thought, yay, let's do this on my business anniversary, which is right around July 1st, which is also my birthday. So I had everything set to transition over July the 1st, not realizing, because now I tell everybody, I'm like the siren singing, don't do it unless it's the beginning of the year, because, the IRS kind of goes, when you turn in at the end of the year, 1099s and W-2s with the same social security number. That's kind of a really, really big red flag. So
yeah,
change. I mean, if anybody's listening, change at the beginning of the year. That's when you need to do it. So right now I've got several people that I'm working with who are actually in transition to employees. So it's the time to do it.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm going to cut that and make that as like an Instagram reel and a YouTube short right there, because that is a huge piece of advice. to transition at the right time.
Yeah.
Transition and do it at the right time.
Hmm. Yes, because you do not want to sit across the table from that person asking you all those questions. And the worst thing was I had already transitioned. So thankfully, they were just looking at that 6-month time period that was flagged. So, and it did, sorry, this was the Department of Labor, not the IRS. Either one of them would notice it. Thankfully, the IRS didn't catch it, but my state Department of Labor did. It would have been a whole different ball of wax if the IRS had caught that. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
it was a waste of a full day of getting, well, longer than that because the paperwork you have to get together.
Oh yeah, and just the anxiety that is
Yeah.
induced from all of that. I mean, there's nothing more anxiety inducing than having your Department of Labor knocking on your door, you know? Not fun.
Uh-huh. Because I like my business. I would like to keep it.
Yes, please, thank you.
Yes. And that was, one of the reasons that I really started educating myself too. That was back in 2012. So when you look at that, we're 11 years now past that, and I've made so many changes since then.
So what does your business look like now?
Oh my goodness. It is just amazing. I mean, it's a blessing. We just had our big end of the year celebration at a local big dog bar. And when you can sit there in front of all those faces that you don't see every day that are sold into your mission and vision and your culture, and I've had these steps like along the way as I've been growing. Sometimes I get choked up because I look at, I'm like, good God, look at this. And I mean, it's not all about me. So right now we have, we're in the St. Louis market. We cover a really big territory. When, I talk to other people and the size of their territories, ours is 45 miles in diameter. So it is city
Wow.
all the way out to the outskirt counties. I have about 40 employees total right now. And out of that group, 4 of them are managers, and then I have 2 assistant managers. So
Wow.
manager wise, I like to say now I'm operating with a full deck. This past year was my year to reorganize and get my base completely set up so we can just blow it out of the water this year. So I do have my general manager. She's been with me now for 5 years. I have my HR manager who has also been with me for 5 years. And then I have a newer operations manager. Originally, we kind of had the general manager was doing the daily operations, but we just got to the point where she had so much to do that we did go ahead and decide to split off that operations manager position this last year. And then I do have our brand manager. She does the marketing and the outreach. And then our 2 assistant
Wow.
managers are on call evenings and weekends.
Wow, that is impressive. That is
So
impressive.
it's a good feeling. I am at the point where I choose what I want to do. So, right now I'm investing more time in it just because I'm still organizing that base and making sure everything's going together. And then we're doing an overhaul of our SOPs and transitioning it all over to our learning management system for education of the employees and the place to house our SOPs. That's a big project
Oh
because
yeah, that's huge.
my SOPs for the company are like 130 pages long.
Wow.
And that was our previous iteration of it. And the actual field operations manual, which is forward facing for the employees for training purposes, that one is about 60. So
Ooh.
it's taken all of that. It's videoing stuff. It's a transition, but I've seen a lot of transition in what employees need to really understand the material and keep that material coming forward, not just here's the manual, read it once and we're done with it. So, a lot of
Yeah.
the evolution, even in my company, it's evergreen. There's always something new, right? We are in a predictably unpredictable industry.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. That's such a great way to put it. That's funny. I one of my big projects for Q1 this year is splitting my operations manager's role into 2 different roles, and
I
we
was
we
wondering, yeah.
Yeah, Brenna kind of does everything right now. She's got her fingers in too many pots, and we're at the
Okay.
size now where we've got to start kind of delineating everything and separating some things out. And it's been difficult for me to be honest. I Brenna and I have been having weekly meetings the past couple of months. Every week figuring out like, okay, well, if we have someone do this, then what does this mean for this? And it's like putting together a puzzle, but you're having to actually make the puzzle pieces as you go. And I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot about myself, learning a lot about really what I want the future of my business to look like and how we really want to operate. And it's super exciting in one hand, but in the other hand, it's like, whoa, this is a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really having that vision in mind of what you do want it to be and not limiting yourself on what you think it can be. I mean, my big thing right now is just I can. I actually have it written up on my mirror. It's, I have 3 affirmations up there. Hold the light, I can, and what's next. And
I
I
love it.
can is really, it's really been a big thing for me, and just a mindset shift as to what my business can be in my community and what I can be for other people. So and just not being stuck with those limiting beliefs, because I come with a trunk full. I really do. So, it's definitely
Yeah.
a challenge for me. But I mean, I love what you say you're doing. And that's what I talk to people a lot about. That's really hard, is kind of defining what those positions are going to be, figuring out, that long-term structure and how do I build up to it. So I know,
Yeah.
in my case, I don't know if you've really looked at the book Traction before, Gina
Yeah.
Wickman's Traction.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes, I really like that EOS system, and it has helped me by starting with that org chart, along with, Gerber's E-Myth, figuring out that org chart, and even, at the point when my name was in all the positions, of knowing where I was going, really just having that end zone, and then defining what each of those positions are. So everyone is completely clear on what their responsibility is and what their responsibility isn't.
Yeah, totally, totally. And if anyone listening has not read either of those books, I mean, they were game changers for me. I've
Mhm.
read the E-Myth probably 5 times at least. I have
Mine's
it
all
on Audible.
dog-eared and folded
Yep.
down and highlighted up. Yes.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
game changer.
it really is. And it's just a simple, I love those business books that are in a story kind of presentation. So it kind of
Yeah,
takes you into the whole concept of this person's business, and how they've worked through it.
yeah, yeah. So you said you have 40 employees, right? You have a
Right around there. I
huge,
don't do the hiring, so it's embarrassing. I don't exactly know the numbers. There are some employees I haven't met yet.
oh man,
I
you're
was
not alone
bummed that
there.
they did not come to my team meeting. This is the funny part. There were like, I think 5 new team members that I had not personally met. And I really wanted to have them come to the bar party. I don't know why they didn't. If they're ever listening, I'm telling you, I missed you. And one of the new employees was there, and he probably thought I was a complete freak, because I'm like, oh my God, it's Avery. I was so excited to see him. And he's like, okay, this is the owner. But I mean, it's amazing to me to, get to see these people that are so bought into what we do. So I'm sorry, I think I cut you off.
No, no, I just again, I can relate with you there that, there's a couple people on my team that I have not met in person yet. And because Brenna does
Weird.
the majority of the hiring, and it is weird. It is really weird. And, I talk to them on the phone and we text and we're in Slack together and stuff, but we just haven't had that face-to-face interaction yet. And there's a lot to be said for that. And um,
Yeah, I actually had implemented water bowl chats with my employees, kind of a little bit for this purpose. I started them back in November. And so, I had just set up, of course, in my Calendly, I had, stuff set up in there for them. I sent them the link and I said, hey, by this date, I want you all to go in and sign up for just a little quick chat. And it was my opportunity just to be in this same scenario with them, finding out how they're doing, the new ones, how's onboarding going, just really having that conversation time, finding out what they do in their personal life. I really like featuring my employees in different things. I found out just a lot of amazing things, just some of the the skills I didn't know about. One of my employees just graduated with a degree in illustration. And I have her now, because I had that conversation with her and I saw her website and her work. Now I have her working on a children's coloring book for me about how to approach dogs and cats and body language for, just a coloring book for kids. So she's working on that for me to have for handing out at events.
I love that. That's so cool.
So let's see, I have another employee that does amazing artwork. And so I've given her a list of the top 10 clients, and we're giving her pictures, and she's doing just basically pencil drawings that we're going to frame for those clients. And I mean, these are knock your socks off pencil drawings. I mean, I would put them on my wall. Maybe I'll just photocopy it. I'm going to photocopy it before I send it to the client, because it's huge work. And the first one, I told her, I really want to feature you because your art's amazing. I want to support my employees. So I told her to do the speed up video thing to set up a camera over her head. So she's putting it together in a video, and hopefully here soon, because she's got the picture of bacon done, hopefully here soon, you all will see on our Four-Legged Kids Facebook page, her little quick animation thing of her drawing him. So
that's so cool. Like I love that.
Yeah.
It's so important to find ways to support our team in that way, and going into their personal passions like that, and that's just so unique. You don't hear very many businesses doing things like that.
Yeah. I think it's important because they are part-time, and it's really hard to build a culture when everyone's autonomous. We're so separated. We don't get to see each other very often. That's why I call it the, meeting around the water bowl chat instead of water cooler. Water bowl. So, I think things like that are important. I mean, I have a great team of managers that do communicate with them on a regular basis, but I mean, I am the lid on our culture in our company. I'm the one that drives the culture in our company. So I want to make sure that I'm easily available for them if they have any questions. And that's just how I keep my temperature on the thing.
Yeah, and that's so important for us to remember as the business owners, that, the culture and just the mentality of our team and our business as a whole, it comes back to us. We may have managers doing these other parts of the business for us, and we have our team out in the field playing with the pets and everything, but those higher level things, it comes down to us, and we have to keep our finger on the pulse.
It does. And, that's, with clients and with employees. So I'm always looking for ways to, continue as the business owner to make sure that I have that connection on both ends. I guess it's one of the reasons that I started a podcast for my pet business, and, why I do these water bowl chats. And, it is just so important. And then just trying to build the culture by making connections within the employees. So, they feel like they're part of the bigger whole.
Yeah. So you have your PetBizHIVE podcast for other pet businesses, and then you have another podcast for your team?
I'm telling you, Doug, once you get started, it's an addiction. Yes. So I actually have 4 different things going right now. I do have the PetBizHIVE podcast, which is public. I do have the Four-Legged Kids Unleashed podcast, which is actually a private podcast currently. It's something that they sign up for. It's actually a lead magnet for the St. Louis area. I'm transitioning that in the next couple of weeks over to being like St. Louis's #1 pet podcast, because, there are no other pet podcasts. So therefore I can claim the space, right?
I love it.
So I'm going to start interviewing local experts. And that's going to be a blast. I've got a whole list of people that I'm getting ready to set up appointments with. So, going to take that a little bit bigger scale, just because, I've discovered I really like talking to myself, but talking to other people is even better. So I have that one. And then I have a private podcast for my PetBizMBA members. And additionally, I am doing an audio course, my foundations audio course that should be coming out pretty soon for anyone who is considering getting into their own pet business, or if they've been on the apps and they're ready to transition over and take back their own time and talent.
Wow. You have so much going on. How do you have time for all of this?
I don't know. And I have a toddler. What the hell, right?
Oh
I just,
man.
content. I just love putting content out there. It's funny when I started doing the pet sitter guru thing. I was like, wow, do I really have anything to offer? I really got stuck in that imposter syndrome phase. I think anyone who does content creation kind of feels that sometimes. You start comparing yourself to other people and you're like, yeah, this has already been said before, but you really start to realize how much you do have to offer. I didn't know that, I had 25 years of stuff back here. And generally when I do things, it's really just quite off the cuff. I don't do a lot of scripting. I just open my mouth and I realize I actually have something to say sometimes. I hope it's helpful.
Man, I so relate with the imposter syndrome on that. Like coming out of COVID, we all had this like pent up energy and that needed to go somewhere, and I didn't know what to do, and I just kept thinking, I want to tell people my story. I want people to be able to do what I have done without making the same bonehead mistakes that I have made. So I just started talking to my phone in my bedroom and uploading it to YouTube, not thinking that anyone would watch it. I didn't think that it was actually useful. I was just like, I just got to get this out there, whether somebody watches it or not. And it's been incredible. The last like year and a half, 2 years, that the videos have taken off, and now I'm doing some coaching and stuff, and I'm very much in that imposter syndrome. Though I think I told you at the conference in Cleveland that, like I don't consider myself a coach, and I don't know how far down that road I want to go. I'm just kind of having fun putting out some content and trying to help some people along the way. And, I don't really know what I want to do with it yet, but definitely in the imposter syndrome part of that.
Yeah, but look over that period of time, the amount of value that you've built in those videos. I mean, it's a virtual library of business candy. And, because people can go back and they can, look at all that different information that you have available, and it just builds over time. And, I always like to tell people, this is what's so special about our industry is we've built to the point where we need thought leaders. And digital has allowed people to come into that space. And the ones that are absolutely great, like you, it's because you have a lot of value to speak. And
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, and it's your presentation too. I mean, everybody, we just feel like we know you because you are so open in, the way that you talk to people. And you're
Thank
so
you.
willing to share and you're willing to give to the industry. And that's a true sign of somebody that is meant to be in this room. So, I mean, I really
Thank you.
appreciate you and commend you for sticking with it. It's
Oh,
tough to stick with it.
thank you. Thank you. It is tough. But what got you into coaching? How, like, when and how did that come about?
And it was like a natural evolution, I guess. Probably for this past 10 years, I've been doing local mentoring. Ages ago, when I first started my business, there actually was a St. Louis professional pet sitter network. And I remember going to one of those meetings. This was probably my first year of business. There were actually a lot of people in the room. What I remember that was really a little bit intimidating, but it was very stilted. Everyone really wasn't very much into sharing. And I realized quickly that at that point, the industry was very scarcity mindset. I go, 25 years ago, people around here, you tell them what you did and they were like, what the hell is that? And, we had to kind of educate the community that, dog walking and pet sitting and having somebody come into your home was actually a thing. It was an option. And, one of the things that I had noticed was this scarcity mindset, and I just really never felt that way myself. So when the PSI convention was in St. Louis, and I'm pretty sure that was 2007, several of the businesses, we kind of met up together and agreed to start another network because the other one had dissolved, of course, because like they weren't sharing anything anyway. And so, I've been running the St. Louis network since then. And that really just led me into conversations with local business owners and realizing that like I had a way to help them, and I was very free with suggesting. And, that developed into like, I'm actually going to reach out to people. I would find out there was a new company. Hey, let's go get coffee. I still do that as much as I can. And I just love doing that. Like, how are you doing? Is there anything that I can do to help you? So I've really been in that mentor space now for over 10 years, probably here locally. And for probably at least half of that, I've had people telling me that I should go out and be a coach. But again, it's that I don't belong in that room feeling, that like imposter syndrome. Along with that, well, I don't really know how to get started. So, and then, that big old pandemic came along and I realized, I mean, this is the time. I enjoy doing this. The opportunity to see an aha in someone and have them take, even just one little thing of what you say and be able to practically apply it to their own business to make some sort of a transition, whether it's mindset or something like actually technical in the business. That's huge to me. So I enjoy that a lot. And honestly, I didn't realize I was going to enjoy it this much. I started really actively getting in this space in April of 21. And really, I mean, this is my magnum opus. I feel like this is going to be my biggest contribution to just the industry in general. So
Wow.
I love it. I really do. I hope
I
you do.
love
It really seems like you enjoy what you're doing.
Oh yeah, I do. I do. And just like you said, I enjoy it so much more than I thought I would. Even though I do feel a little bit of the imposter syndrome and I don't know how far down the road I want to go, it's when I'm talking to people on Zoom calls and you see that aha, that light bulb, it's like, oh wow, yes, it feels so good, and I tell everybody I have made every mistake in the book, so learn from me. I've already made the mistakes. You don't need to do the stuff that I did. I'm going to tell you what not to do.
If I had you 25 years ago, everything would be totally different. I'm just saying. It is so hard to learn it all on your own, especially without the resources that we have now. It is the ideal time to get into the business, isn't it?
It so is. And and I've worked with many business coaches myself over the years now, and we all have our own little niches and our own little expertises, and it's so cool to work with different coaches and see your own business transform, and I've learned so much from other people, and to be able to pass on some of that knowledge just gives me a little bit different sense of purpose than my normal business does, like I
It
get
does.
purpose from that, but this is a different kind of purpose.
I know. It's like, we're all just like getting the warm fuzzies from like, the direct pet connection and, helping other people who are then helping pets. It's just kind of spreading the love
Yeah.
and strengthening our industry, right? You get that great information out there. And, like I said, my business would be so very different had I had this kind of information initially. I like to tease people that I talk to is, you have the opportunity to do in 2 to 3 years what it took me 25 years to do. So, take that opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. The resources that are available to people now is just incredible. I mean, I started 9 years ago, and there were some resources then, but nothing compared to what we have now.
Yeah, my main resource, which, I wish I could find, wish I could find this lady. And I don't remember how I found her information, was it Google 25 years ago? I don't even know. I think I had AOL dial up. I don't even remember. No, it was SBC. I had Southwestern Bell. I was also in the Yellow Pages for a long time too, but that's a whole different story. And somehow I had done some sort of a search and found this lady in California. Her name was Paula Pascas. It was P squared, PP alliteration, P squared something or another. I still have the manual she sent me, and I sent this lady money, and she sent me a how to become a pet sitter, like manual and some cassette tapes. And
Wow.
that's kind of how I got some like business knowledge. That was how I originally got started. So I don't know if Paula Pascas is still around. Maybe she watches your YouTube videos.
Hey.
If so, woman, you got to call me, because I'm going to give you the biggest virtual hug ever, because you're kind of the one that started all of this. So, that's the limited thing that we had available then. And you would have had more 9 years ago. And now it's just, it almost gets to the point of overwhelm. There's so much out there. Unfortunately, there's no standardization. So different voices might say different things, and it can get confusing. So, flip to the other side of there being a lot, but that's the importance of having, coaches in that space that can help you dig through what's out there and figure out what's best for your own company.
Yeah, definitely. I think it can get a little confusing, especially like in the different Facebook groups and stuff. You have one person saying this and then another person saying this. And it's like, for us, with our experience, we can look at it and say, well, that's probably not the best route. I agree more with this. But for people starting out without that experience, it could be totally overwhelming and very confusing. And that is totally where working with the different coaches, can be so, so helpful. And man, I wish if I could give myself any advice, 9 years ago, it would have been work with a coach sooner. I didn't work with my first coach until my third year in business. And if I could have signed up with one year one, then who knows where I would be now.
Now, how did you find that person in year 3? Was it a recommendation? Was it a search?
Facebook. It was Facebook. I just started searching for other pet businesses, and I found a different pet sitting and dog walking business in New York that I just really liked the way that they portrayed themselves online. I liked what they were doing. And so I found out who the owner was, and I just called them directly and I said, hey, I'm in Florida. Like, can I pick your brain? And we got on like a Skype call, and I think he charged me like $50 for each Skype call. And we did like weekly Skype calls. And then he wasn't even a coach then. I think he became a coach and then ended up shutting down his business. And he's not even in the pet industry anymore.
Oh, wow. That's a big difference.
Yeah. But I mean, I learned so much from him, and I've worked with many other coaches since then. And I mean, I will always work with a business coach, no matter how much I think I may know. There's always more to learn.
Oh, totally. And strangely enough, I've never worked with a coach.
Wow.
Is that weird? A long time back in the days when I was starting my like educational, takeoff, which probably started about 12 years ago when I joined BNI chapter. I'm an introvert, so that was really tough for me. But it helped me learn a lot about networking and presenting myself just in a different manner that might not be my nature, but might be more relatable to people. And I had tried to start with a business coach, but it wasn't quite what I needed at the time. So I never did revisit it. I get my education through books and courses and, things like that. So I'm pretty hardcore in reading and researching. So that's how I've gotten my information, along with mistakes. Possibly if I had chosen a business coach, I wouldn't have made as many mistakes along the way, but they've made me who I am at this point. And, I think, all of our experiences when we're out there sharing with people, whether it's just mentoring other businesses or, actually hanging out your shingle and saying that you're a business strategist, all of that makes us who we are, and we can feed on everything that we've experienced in the past, for that, mistakes included.
Yeah, yeah. And I love your list of books that people should read. You posted that on Facebook, what, last week or the week before last?
I
And I looked at
did.
it and I wrote down every book that I hadn't read, I added to my to read list. And luckily I had read about half of your list. So I feel like I'm doing good.
That's good. I know it's and I've had that list out for like a year and a half. I had like so many things that I just haven't really shared enough with people, but I made that up specifically because I don't know if you've ever followed Dave Ramsey's EntreLeadership business
Yes.
group. That
Yep.
book is in there. So have you read EntreLeadership?
Yeah, yeah. I love Dave Ramsey.
Yes. Well, my uncle is actually in his book.
Oh
So,
wow.
and it's funny because my uncle, I had done Financial Peace University, his financial stuff years ago. And, I knew that my uncle knew him. He's an entertainer in Nashville. And, my uncle told me, oh yeah, I'm in Dave's new book. And I'm like, oh, what book is it? And he's like, oh, it's this business book, EntreLeadership. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'm going to get that just because my uncle's in it. And then that was like meteoric getting into that. That was one of those key things that really transitioned my business, was reading that book and starting to listen to the EntreLeadership podcast back from like episode 1 years ago. And Dave actually has a list of his favorite business books. And I took that and started checking those off my list. And, I would listen to one of his podcasts and he'd be interviewing another author. And I'm like, oh, I need to read that book now. So I have a bit of a rabbit syndrome with books. I usually have a good 5 going at the same time. So,
Yep.
I mean, I'm finishing up this one right now. So, that's the one I happen to have here. I have tons of Audible books that I can't wait to get to.
Yep. Yep.
So
I'm a huge reader. I'm a huge reader. This is like one bookshelf, and I have a bookshelf that is loaded down, like sagging in my living room.
Yes. So what is like your top 3 of all time? I know that's going to be a really tough off the cuff question.
Man, top 3 of all time. E-Myth has got to be in the top 3.
Yeah, it is just a real grounding baseline book, isn't it?
Yeah. Gap in the Game. That's one I read just a couple of months ago. Morgan Webber recommended it to me, and it's been a game changer for me. And then God, there's just so many. There's so many. I love the book that what was the book that the guy that founded Nike wrote?
Oh shoot, I haven't read that one.
I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but it was so good, and it totally changed my mindset to have I have so much more of a growth mindset because of that book. I'll look up the name of it and I'll put it on the screen right here for people watching the video.
Do it. I know your editing is so amazing. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. So I love that you do that. So whatever the book is, it's right there.
But I read every book that I can on the pet industry too. I mean, this whole shelf here is all pet books, all pet related books. This shelf is all pet books. This shelf is all pet books. I mean, I read anything I can get my fingers on.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lending library for my employees in my office, and, they can check out books to, kind of like on almost any subject. I just had a trainer here who retired, and she's like, hey, do you want my literature? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm there. So I've got an entire bag I still have to go through of training DVDs and manuals and behavior books and some serious science-based books. So I like.
So what are your top 3?
It was funny because it's like I asked you that, and I'm like, crap, I need to come up with my own top 3 because it's hard. It's like each book does a certain thing for you and hits a certain aspect of your business that makes you who you are. Right. Profit First was a killer for me.
Yes.
It literally, because I'm a spreadsheet person, but I was never raised with any like financial literacy education. And so I started using Profit First. Well, I started when the book came out because you know what? I heard about it on EntreLeadership and bought it right away. That was in the early days when, you know, Mike was smaller, didn't have as much going on. And I had emailed him a question about our industry and how it applied to Profit First numbers. And he emailed me back.
No way.
So that helped me get kind of started with that. And then I let it fizzle, but then I started back up 5 years ago and it just totally changed the way that I operate my business. So in the PetBizMBA, I totally teach Profit First principles. We actually had the month of October was Profit First and how to apply it to your business. We just had a co-working session a couple of days ago where, you know, everybody come and we'll go over your P&Ls and we'll figure out really how to start working this into your own pet business. I'm looking at my bookshelf over here. So many great ones. I do love Patrick Lencioni's book, The Ideal Team Player. That definitely changed our entire hiring funnel process. Very good one if you haven't read that. I'm pretty sure
I'm adding that one to my list.
It should be on my 50 book list. So yeah, and he really gets into really behavioral hiring, which is very important, not just, you know, basically hiring a butt for the seat. You know, making sure that the behavioral aspect of that person fits your culture and what you want to have in your business going forward. And I would have to say, again, Traction just gave me a really great structure for my team, for the management team. So that one is excellent. Of course, whenever you do have a management team, to figure out how to get everybody pulling the cart in the same direction. So that was good for us for goals. And, you know, we have weekly team meetings. Setting up our scoreboard is one of the big things that I talk about, having scoreboards, having a number for all of your employees of their metrics and making sure that you're tracking those and how important they are. So that's just looking at that little small high level section. Of course, I could go for the rest of the day on that, but anybody that wants to know about it, hit me up. And I have a list of my 50 favorite, which is probably going to turn into my 100 favorite and not too terribly long. So I give little descriptions of what each one's about, and they're categorized based off of leadership and, you know, different things like that. So,
yeah. Well, I think that's a perfect segue into, I want to know what the PetBizMBA looks like. You know, what do you do within the PetBizMBA, and just what is it like to work with you? What can people expect?
oh, well, okay. So of course I do some limited privates. I mean, not a whole bunch, but I do have several people that I'm working with right now. So it is something that is available. I just have a really limited schedule, only 2 days a week that I can do that with the structure that I have set up right now. But with the PetBizMBA, it is really a business accelerator. We typically are going to be open twice a year. We just started this past August. So right now we have like 28 people in the membership. It's a great small group to get started with. We're not going to open the doors again until after the spring conferences. So that will be sometime in March. But what I really do is, you know, I've split up each month into different business modules. And this is really, it's really a high level consideration. Any of these individual things that I'm teaching are just business principles. I just bring them out of the clouds and I apply them to our pet businesses and the way that our industry works, because we are so unique. So, you know, different modules like SOPs, and it's education on specifically during the month we work on, let's get your SOPs written. Messaging and branding. Like I said, profit first. That's a huge one. I did financials in December, and right now I'm doing hiring. Next month, I'm talking about culture and building a good, strong team. And then during the month, there's just something that comes out every week. The first week we have a masterclass. It's a live masterclass, so you know people can ask questions. Also, those are pretty significant, really giving the basis education of whatever that module is. The next week, I always have a pop the hood, which a lot of times is an interview, really in-depth interview with a guest expert. I've had an accountant on. That was during the financial module. branding expert. Well, Kayla with Docs Design
Love
was
her.
on for that one. So, we just really dig in kind of deep on some of those interviews, and it's really the practical application, or it's a behind the scenes of how I do it in my own business. Third week, I provide templates, swipe files, guides, kind of whatever complements that month. For the financials module, I had a spreadsheet made up for business budgeting and for business forecasting, things like that. And then the last week is a Q&A where it's just no holds barred, and people just ask all sorts of questions about business to help them along.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It always keeps me thinking and creating. And the funny thing is, this is a little inside between you, me, and everybody else who watches your YouTube videos. So I guess it's really not a secret then. I'm learning so much more by teaching, because what I get is this education that I've had, that I've really gone into, my personality style, I'm obsessed about learning new things. I switched over to marketing for my web design. I had learned how to use WP Bakery and WordPress. That's the builder. And I am not a computer person, but I had done that with my previous website, and Erica uses Elementor. Well, I had to go in and learn Elementor. Not like my time isn't better spent probably using it on other things, but that feeds me, and input feeds me. And that's actually my strengths finder. Number one is input. And just the ability to learn all those different things is super important to me. And I lost my train of thought. What were you asking me? I just went completely vacant because I started talking about education and learning things.
I was along for the ride. I was just along for the ride.
I had you hooked, man. That was great.
You
what
did.
was I
You
saying
really
about
did.
that? Oh man.
I don't know where you were going.
I don't know where I was going with that. You asked me a question.
Oh man, I don't even remember my question now. I was enthralled with everything you were saying.
Sorry. So I'm telling you, this is what it looks like to be 48 years old and have a 2-year-old toddler. That's all I'm saying. Sometimes your brain just goes out the door. Walk into a room and not know why I was in there. So I'm sure we were saying something about the PetBizMBA.
Yes.
And how amazing it is. People probably wanted my actual answer to that question, but you're just going to have to call me and ask me the question and remind me that I lost my train of thought.
We'll figure it out. We
will. It'll come up, right?
The PetBizMBA sounds great, though. I mean, that sounds like the exact type of thing that I would like.
Yeah, it's a nice dig deep, and we're really trying to build a strong community in the group also. A real great space where people can share. As a business accelerator, a lot of it is changing that mindset. Like I had said before, I say a lot in my social media things that, 7 is the new 6. It's been for so long. All you ever hear is, oh, I want to be a 6-figure pet business. Oh, I want to be a 6-figure pet business. Well, that's not enough now. Really 7-figure pet businesses. And it's getting people from the mindset of, okay, well, now I'm a 6-figure pet business. And now you're just making incremental growth from there. I'm talking about exponential growth. It's changing the mindset of knowing, yes, I can be a 7-figure pet business. And what is it going to take? What is it going to take in my business structure wise? And what is it going to take me to be? Because that's the most important transition that you're going to have, is the one in yourself of knowing that, yes, it's almost like immediately saying, I am a 7-figure pet business. Because when you start saying that within yourself, it creates that tension of like, I am, but my numbers aren't there yet. So what do I need to do over here to get it to what I am? So, so that's really, a lot of what I want to bring to the industry is that I can do these things. You just might need a little extra tweak here and there, and really understanding what it's like to build up your business base so you can do that. So you can have the ability to step back and choose what you want to do in your business and not be really tied down to the like, okay, is somebody going to call off today? And I'm going to have to go out and do their visits. There's so many little transitions in business that I've seen as I've grown, and I've kind of made these little mental markers of knowing the different phases of business ownership and kind of what people need at each point to have built before they can really take that leap into that next space.
Yeah.
So,
I'm so glad you brought that up. That's like the first thing that I noticed about you when I found you
oh,
online a year ago or however long it was. You had said 7 fig big, and I said, "That's what I need. I want to listen to her."
I know
And
that's
because
like
you,
my hashtag, man. 7fig big. It's actually, I bought the URL too. So you can go to 7figbig.com and it takes you to Pet Sitter Guru.
Love it. I'll put the link to that down in the description below. I'll put it on the screen.
I
That
know. It's like,
it totally just stuck out to me because everyone does talk about six-figure pet business. We hear that talked about by so many different people. And then when I reached six figures, all I could think was, can't be it. This can't be it. It's not enough for me. I want 7 figures, but there's no one out there besides you talking about 7 figures. How do we get there? What are those phases? And that's something that I love that you brought that up too, because that's something I talked about in my biggest mistakes that I ever made was um, figuring out those phases of business. And I grew really, really quickly in the beginning, and I didn't spend enough time in that like 50,000 a year phase to learn what I needed to learn. I went straight from like 20,000 a year to like 100 grand a year, and I just didn't know what I needed to know. I jumped too many phases, and I think that's so important to learn what you need to learn before it's too late. Because if you get to the mid six figures and you haven't spent time in those other phases, you're not going to know what to do. The
mm-hmm.
business does not operate the same way.
Yeah, that's I guess one of the reasons that I've come up with my, for my really freedom formula, the 4 different phases that I've determined that pet business owners go through, the starter, the grower, the expander, and the innovator. And I have certain key things in those levels that I have in the PetBizMBA for people to make sure that they've got everything checked off in that phase before they consider that they're in the next phase of the business. So it's making sure that you're, even if you have a high revenue, if you don't have some of your bases built, I mean, I've talked to pet business owners that are 300 to 400,000 in revenue, but they don't have any kind of SOPs yet. They don't have, in some cases, actual field operations and training manuals. So I've known, because I've gone through some of those pain points myself, of things that you really need to watch out for.
Yeah.
And that's really important to kind of have that entire structure set up so you can see that big picture. You need to know where you're going. But
Yeah.
part of what I want to be in this space for is to help people see that might be a lot more than you're really considering. And let's think bigger about everything. Let's set that end zone and figure out what we are going to do, practically do, actionable to actually get there.
Oh man, that's a mic drop moment right there.
Mic drop.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Janie. This has been great. I so
I love
appreciate
it.
you taking the time to talk to us, and you've got me energized now. I want
Good.
you're just
Well,
so
post-it
inspiring.
note. I'm telling you, people, figure out what these affirmations are. Grab a post-it note, write it on there, stick it on your damn computer so you're reading it every day. That is so important. I have that written on the wall. You need a post-it note that you put on your computer that says, I belong in that room. Because that's going to help anybody in this space if you feel any bit of that imposter syndrome, just to remember that you have value to offer your community and pet business, or if you are looking to get into the space of helping other pet business owners or even mentoring other businesses in your local community with your knowledge. You belong in that room. You have value to offer.
Oh man. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And where can people get in contact with you and find out more about everything that you're doing?
Well, of course, now that I've said 7figbig.com, right? 7, the number 7, it's funny because my foundations course, I talk about it, which should be coming out in the next month or so, audio course. I talk about naming your business. And like one of the worst things that you can do is start it with a number or have a number within your business name, because then it's difficult with your URL and you're always having to tell people, no, it's
Yeah.
the number, you don't spell it out. Well, what's my business name? Four-legged kids. But I digress. It's branded, it's mine, everybody gets it. So that's very different. So yes, this is 7figbig.com. And of course you can go there. I really encourage people to go get my information on the PetBizHIVE podcast. No spaces in PetBizHIVE. You can get it at any of the major podcast locations, and take a listen. I just uploaded, I think, episode 71 this morning. This month we are also talking about hiring and some of the challenges of that, and some techniques and things that I have learned over the years. That's probably the easiest way to get introduced is through the podcast. Listen to me talk to myself. It's great.
I love the podcast. I listen to every one of your episodes, and the one that you put out a couple days ago with Jordan was so good. I listened to it in the car driving home, and I literally got home and I had like 10 minutes of the episode left, and I just sat in my driveway so I could finish it. My boyfriend came outside and was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Go away, this is important."
Not that you couldn't push pause for a hot second, but no, it was like, I got to finish this. It's a whole train of thought. It was excellent. Yeah, people should go back and listen to that one. So, I've got some great podcasts that are going to be coming out for the month of February that I'm excited about, which, has to do with the amazingness of our industry right now, and all the wonderful people that we have as support systems. So, I like doing it. And once you get started, man, it's like trying to eat one French fry. You just can't stop, right?
Awesome. Well, for everybody listening, I will put Janie's information down in the description below so you can click, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this video with anyone else that you think could benefit from it. And I'm Doug the Dog Guy from Bad to the Bone Pet Care, reminding you to stay positive.